Physical education can ultimately develop a student's competence and capability when it comes to taking part in physical activities such as sports. Essentially, a PE curriculum that includes and provides a high quality will ultimately ensure students to not only enjoy sports, but to also help maintain and develop a healthy, productive lifestyle. The rationale of the PDHPE syllabus clearly indicates how the study of physical education can provide students with the opportunity to enhance and develop resilience and connectedness and learn to interact respectfully with others. Essentially, the PDHPE syllabus and curriculum is designed in a method to not only ensure and highlight the significance of physical education, it also establishes a sense of diversity for all students to feel empowered as well as socially just. Evidently, PDHPE can ultimately be seen as a valuable curriculum area, where this will further be explained through the podcast where the game sense approach will be discussed, as well as a reflection on 4 tutorials to additionally provide a significance towards the importance of physical education. Essentially, the game sense approach can be defined as a strategy which develops and adds an in-depth meaning towards sports. Essentially, the game sense approach directly and strictly focuses on developing students' problem-solving skills, as well as an advanced understanding of the games that are played. Ultimately, the game sense approach encourages students to become aware as well as more tactful in order to develop their skills and apply it to a realistic context where this will ensure better decisions and outcomes to be made whilst playing games. Mentioned by Shane Peel in 2019, the game sense approach has since then been the practical underpinning of Australian sport coaching, becoming embedded in coach education programs and literature, where this also signifies the importance of the game sense approach when it comes to sports. Learning can be seen and referred to as a problem-solving process. This process of problem-solving highly relates to the game sense approach, as learning to play games should be located within games modified to suit the learner's abilities and the teacher's aims with an emphasis on understanding not only how to do skills, but also when, where and why, where this is mentioned by Light, Curie and Mooney in 2014. Essentially, the strengths of the game sense approach can be seen as immense when it comes to it being used as a teaching approach. Some of the notable strengths include the development of leadership skills, development of social skills, as well as decision-making and problem-solving skills. Furthermore, by observing the outcomes as well as the objectives of the PDHPE syllabus, it is quite evident that the game sense approach highly relates and in a sense reiterates the outcomes of the syllabus, both on the knowledge and understanding as well as the developmental skills. In week 1, we had our first tutorial, which distinctly focused and revolved around teaching PDHPE in primary schools and the importance of it. The tutorial consisted of sharing and incorporating our own PE experiences and whether they were positive or negative ones. An introduction of the syllabus was also incorporated in order to compare the differences between the new and the old PDHPE syllabus. Through this tutorial, it was essential for us as pre-service teachers to understand what the new implemented changes were in the refined syllabus in order to successfully use it. Some of the new changes that were noticed were the new syllabus strands, as well as the propositions that were moved onto being a strengths-based approach. Throughout my participation on this unit, I have successfully and effectively learned that my approach to teaching PDHPE in the future will be more effective, as my approach and the benefit of participating in the tutorials has also been immensely helpful. Stated by Kijnik and Curie in 2014, it was reported that pre-service teachers would rather teach other key learning areas rather than PE, where this was a common thought and conception. However, through the participation of the tutorials, I have professionally developed the subject of PDHPE just as important as other subjects and key learning areas. This is also evidently stated by Philip Fontenoy in 2008, as he effectively remarks that by including physical education into the curriculum, it can no longer be seen or viewed as an elective or support subject, rather a mandatory one instead. Providing a high standard of professional preparation of future educators is paramount to ensure quality teaching and learning. This is stated by Kijnik and Curie in 2014, where I have also learned that this through my own online participation of PD/HPE tutorials, where I would also apply this to my own professional practice in the future. In tutorial 4, the importance and significance of designing an effective assessment was looked at. This theory tutorial was important in order to design an effective learning experience where many considerations should be looked at, such as showing clear syllabus outcomes, valid and relevant content being included, as well as appropriate outcome strategies. The tutorial effectively shows pre-service teachers how to effectively plan learning and assessment activities through incorporating the assignment of as for learning, which was learned about in the previous week of week 3. Through this theory tutorial, I've effectively learned that the importance of PD/HPE syllabus has when integrating into assignments, as it is both integral and vital in order to create an effective assessment. If we apply the aim of the PD/HPE syllabus, which is to develop the knowledge, understanding, skills, values and attitudes required to lead and promote healthy, safe and active lives, we can initially understand the clear relationship between the syllabus outcomes and the aims and the content that is being assessed. The PD/HPE syllabus and curriculum plays an important role where it enhances resilience and teaches students the importance of physical health. It is our duty as pre-service teachers to ultimately design effective learning experiences which will develop students' knowledge, understanding and skills. Additionally, this theory tutorial was seen to be extremely beneficial when providing an effective learning experience for students, as different areas of assessment were discussed and what assessment activities can be included. Stated by Philip Fontenoy in 2008, organised physical activity administered by qualified instructors is beneficial for all students, essentially meaning that all the different areas of assessment that was provided in this theory tutorial were all beneficial towards students' problem-solving skills, their creative thinking, and skills in evaluation. Throughout this tutorial, I can effectively say that I have developed professionally by appreciating all the benefits that different areas of assessment have towards enhancing students' health and well-being, where I can successfully apply this knowledge in future activity and lessons. Week 5 was classified as a skills tutorial, where the game sense approach was discussed, where many objectives were outlined and talked over. These included the introduction to different types of sports, observing sports in action, learning how to modify activities through acronyms such as Change It, and developing teaching resources for PD/HPE. Throughout this tutorial, different videos of invasion games were watched in order to help prepare us to use the Change It acronym when deriving our own lesson and activity plans. Essentially, as stated by Leanne Brooks in 2012, the game sense in a way uses and incorporates modified games which include essential tactical structures that are adapted to cater for different abilities and interests. Ultimately, this can refer to how the teacher can involve designing a series of modified games that can range from simple to complex. Essentially, throughout the Week 5 tutorials, this was ultimately achieved as we were encouraged to watch different invasion games, striking and fielding games, as well as net games, where us as pre-service teachers were encouraged to develop skills in activity plans that would essentially move and be from easy to more challenging and so on. Stated by Brooks in 2012, invasion games can be noted as games where the whole purpose of the game is to invade an opponent's territory, scoring points in order to win, while striking or fielding games involve a competitive environment where the competition is to score more runs than the other team. These games include cricket, softball, t-ball, and other competitive games. Effectively, modified games and the significance of it can also be noted and seen in the syllabus, as the rationale specifically states the importance of modifying the pace, level, and content of teaching. Ultimately, not only has this tutorial professionally developed my understanding of PE, it has also developed my understanding of the significance games can have when teaching PE, where this can enhance a student's knowledge, understanding, skills, values, and attitudes, where I will definitely take these into account in my own practice of teaching. The last tutorial that essentially developed my professional understanding of PE was in week 6's tutorial, which was a skills tutorial. This tutorial centered and revolved around Indigenous games. This skills tutorial initially and distinctly includes the importance of Indigenous games, where students are required to learn about Indigenous games and to also participate in culturally diverse games also. In this tutorial, many Indigenous games were observed and videos were watched, where the purpose was to effectively apply each game to a suitable and to an appropriate stage. Additionally, the importance of students to learn Indigenous games can also be seen and found in the PDHP syllabus, as it includes the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories and cultures as a cross-curriculum priority. The Traditional Indigenous Games article provided by the Australian Sports Commission also highlights the contribution towards the implementation of Indigenous Australian perspectives across the education curriculum, where the Traditional Indigenous Games resource was initially designed and created to provide all Australians with an understanding and an appreciation towards Indigenous culture. In our tutorials, the Think, Pair, Share method was ultimately used in order to respond to the videos of different Indigenous games and apply it to the models of the PE instruction. Essentially, the Indigenous games that were watched were at times modified in order to create understanding of basic skills and considering other important factors such as the complexity and the simplicity of the games. Ultimately, the Traditional Indigenous Games presents a selection of games and activities played, where the games that include in this resource can also be applied towards the model of the PE instruction. Evidently, it is also stated by Evans, Georgicus, and Wilson in 2017 that Indigenous perspectives will now feature in all key learning areas in the national curriculum, more specifically in the health and physical education curriculum, in order to encourage all students the teaching of Indigenous games. Overall, through all the tutorials I have developed, my professional sense of PDHPE, in particular, this skills lesson, which revolved all on the importance of Indigenous games, has developed my understanding towards the significance of Indigenous culture and the games. Overall, throughout this PDHP unit, I have learned that physical education is an essential part of healthy living for people of all age groups. Ultimately, PDHP teaches students to improve the quality of their life as well as their understanding skills and attitudes. The study of PDHPE ultimately provides students with the opportunity to enhance and develop resilience, as well as motivation and encouragement to participate in sports in order to develop beneficial and useful skills. Throughout this unit, I have also learned that the syllabus does indeed incorporate many important objectives, as well as outcomes, which addresses many contexts such as the physical, cognitive, social, and emotional skills that are important for engaging in movement and leading a healthy, safe, physically active lifestyle. Through my participation and experience of this unit, I have learnt that my newfound knowledge will positively affect my approach to teaching PDHPE. The learning activities initially relate to the unit content and key learning areas, as they both link with the PDHPE syllabus, making it easy and simple to understand. Key concepts such as the game sense approach have also allowed me to enhance my knowledge on the concepts of the game sense approach and how initially this approach links as well as relates to the subject of PDHPE. I believe that in the future I will be extremely confident in teaching PDHPE, all thanks to my newfound skills and knowledge which I have learned throughout this unit. I believe that this unit has allowed me to acknowledge the importance of the subject and importance of PDHPE, and to recognise it as not an optional subject, rather a mandatory and vital one, as I have now learnt the real positive benefits that PDHPE can have on students.